I do ask people to remember that there's a somewhat artificial view of me that is just created by the medium and the way people get to interact with me.
Yeah. No, it is very fair. I think not a lot of us would remain wise at 1 a.m. when the dishwasher doesn't work. I wanted to speak a bit about the Symphony of Sages you mentioned that really sparked my
Yes.
interest. Are you willing to speak about what the symphony exactly consists of, or was it just the three you spoke
No,
about?
those are the three the three S's in my and Jesus is also in there, and Lao Tse is in there. Um, Probably Plotinus.
Hmm.
Yeah, because Plotinus has this astonishing thing that I don't see anywhere else to the degree that I see it in Plotinus. When you're reading Plotinus, Spinoza is got it too, so that's why I think of Spinoza as a sage. Uh, when you're reading Plotinus, you're simultaneously reading an argument and going through a spiritual exercise, and I wish I could do that. I wish I could write and speak like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, th those are my Symphony of Sages. People have pointed out that I should probably have somebody from the Confucian tradition in there and
Hmm.
Vedanta, and maybe the next series in which I do a deeper dive into Mencius, Confucius, and Sankara from Vedanta will result in that. Maybe Sankara will be the fourth S in my Symphony of Sages. Yes.
Beautiful. You don't have any like people that are still alive in there?
Um, no. I think it's dangerous to pronounce anybody as, I mean, in both the philosophical and the religious traditions, to
Yeah.
paint anybody as a saint or a sage until they're dead. Because you never know how human beings might turn.
Yeah.
Uh, and um, and I think part of what we're trying to convey with a term like sage or saint or enlightened is that their life was comprehensively be like from the period of their enlightenment or whatever on to the end. Exact, exemplified that kind of shining um, transformative integrity that you were saying, that everybody, in some sense, I think when they're cultivating wisdom is aspiring to.
Yeah.
And so I would expect that these people would even still be shining at 1 a.m. when the dishwasher is not working properly. But yeah, I've met people that I genuinely consider wise. I have been introduced to people who have been designated as enlightened. Um, but I don't, yeah, I don't internalize anybody who's still alive. Yes,
Okay.
that's very dangerous.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think that a sage then has to be more of a symbol than a person?
I think they have to be a person who was becoming a symbol in their life so that they become a personal symbol
Yeah.
after their I think that one of my favorite plays is Equus, and he talks about Dysart, the psychologist, talks about why is it that certain individuals or places or things are these magnets that sacredness seems to draw to and then shine forth. And that I love that play because of his deep, he confronts it and he's aware of it, but he can't realize it in
Mhm.
himself. And he is haunted, even to some degree, tortured by that. And I identify with that. Um, these people, they become symbolic without being inflated, without becoming idols or idolatrous themselves. And there's a profound interweaving between who they are and what they say and how they act. And people keep returning to their words and their actions and having their lives renewed. Uh, I, I, uh, I don't. I share with Dysart. I still don't quite know what that final. magnetic magic is that turns somebody from a philosopher into a sage.
Okay. Do you see particular value in following one sage as opposed to a symphony of sages? Or do you also the other way around would be a question, I guess?
I specifically argue for a symphony because I don't believe there's any panacea practice. I don't believe there's any, and I believe that for some very important, I believe, arguments from cognitive science about how cognition works, how self-deception works. There's no panacea faculty. Every faculty can deceive you. There's no panacea practice. Each practice has its benefits, but also its dark side. And what the most you can hope for is a self-correcting system, an ecology of practices. And I think you need um, something analogous to that with your sages. They have different strengths and weaknesses. Somebody famously said, one of the problems we face is that Socrates never cried and Jesus never laughed.
Mm,
Um, and um, and uh, and I know Jonathan has some big thing about why Jesus never laughed, but I think I do think I mean I don't want to just dismiss it without talking to him about it, but I do think that for all of what I admire in the sages, I think they are nevertheless, right, by necessity, incomplete, partial. They can be misapprehended. They can cause self-deception. And so I argue for a symphony. And my analogy is I'm a martial artist. And we had for the longest time a lot of the purity, you just do the one art. And then what happened? MMA came along, and the MMA people just keep kicking the asses of the purists. And there's good cognitive scientific reasons for that. There really is.
yeah.
And that's not happenstance. That's not coincidence. That's something to deeply pay attention to. And you should pay attention to it at the level of your cognition, not just at the level of martial art practice.
Mm,
And so I strongly advocate for a symphony of sages. And I know that makes people, oh, John's a syncretist. He's, well, yeah. You know what everything is? It's a syncretism,
yeah.
right? Christianity is a syncretism of Judaism and Platonism and and Judaism. The God of the Bible is a syncretism of El and Yahweh, who were originally two different deities. And rather than that make me go turn an atheist and say, oh, well, look, it's just, no, it's like I keep, like this is Dysart. What is it that keeps drawing these things together? What is keeps making us draw these things together and give birth to something beyond? Why did the ancient Israelites take El, which is in the name Israel,
Yeah.
and Yahweh and bring it together and make something beyond what's going on there? And so that argument accused, it's not even an argument usually, I'm just accused of the heresy of syncretism. I think that argument is um, it doesn't pay attention to how things function, and it doesn't pay attention to the history of how things have emerged.
Mm.
And so that would be my counter argument. Now, would I say to people who are at home in a tradition like my friend Bishop Maximus or David Schindler that they should leave? No, of course not. No, of course not.
So can they follow Christ while also following, let's say, some of these other sages, or at least trying to get some of their characteristics and their qualities to implement those in their lives? I mean, you don't have to say I'm a Buddhist to I think appreciate Siddhartha or learn from him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Christians who think so. And I'm going to talk about this in the Philosophical Silk Road. There's a long-standing, decades-old tradition of Zen Christianity, Zen Catholicism,
Yeah.
people bridging between the two, and people like flowing along into that, like Thomas Merton and others, Brother Lawrence. Um, so I think at the non-propositional level, which is sort of analogous to the MMA, right? I think that's very possible. Um, One of the reasons why I don't consider myself a Christian, there's a whole bunch of reasons. Some of them are philosophical, some of them are personal, but so this is only one.
Mm.
It's precisely, and I've asked this question, I think to Paul and Jonathan at one point, is I owe so much of what makes my life good and continues to make my life good continuously to Socrates, to Spinoza, to Siddhartha, to Lao Tse, to Plotinus. I would feel disloyal if I had to turn away from them, and a profound disloyalty. Um, and I asked them, "Is it what's your response to that?" And I didn't get a. I mean, I want to be clear. They wrestle with it. This, of course, is the pluralism argument, which is one of the most problematic arguments for anybody who belongs to one specific tradition that claims a kind of exclusivity. Um, but I didn't get an answer that in any way motivated me to sever my deep ties of loyalty to Socrates and to Siddhartha, or for me to pretend that they haven't done and continue to do everything they do for me.